The bedroom was suffocatingly silent, the kind of silence that presses against your ears and makes the blood rushing through your veins sound like a roaring river. Olivia Miller woke up not because of a noise, but because of the absence of one. The rhythmic, comforting snoring that usually emanated from the other side of the king-sized bed was missing. She reached out a hand, her fingers brushing against the cool, crisp cotton of the sheets where her husband, James, should have been. It was empty. The mattress was cold, which meant he hadn't just gotten up to use the bathroom 5 minutes ago. He had been gone for a while. Olivia blinked, her eyes adjusting to the semi-darkness. The digital clock on the nightstand glowed with an aggressive red. 3:14 a.m. A shiver that had nothing to do with the temperature of the room danced down her spine. She sat up, pulling the duvet tighter around her chest, and looked toward the hallway. A faint, ghostly blue light was spilling out from the living room, stretching across the floorboards like a warning sign. She slipped out of bed, her bare feet making no sound on the carpet. She paused at the door of the nursery. Inside, their 4-year-old son Liam was sound asleep, clutching his worn-out teddy bear. The sight of him, so peaceful and innocent, usually calmed her anxiety, but tonight it only made the knot in her stomach tighten. Whatever was keeping James awake at this hour, whatever was happening in that living room, it felt heavy. Olivia walked down the hallway, the blue light growing more intense with every step. She reached the doorway of the living room and froze. James was there. He was sitting in his leather office chair, his body slumped at an awkward angle. His head was tipped back, mouth slightly open, letting out soft, shallow breaths. He was fast asleep. But the computer screen in front of him was blazing bright, casting harsh shadows across his face, making him look older, more haggard than the man she had married 6 years ago. Olivia stepped closer. She intended to shake him gently, to tell him to come to bed because he had an early start at the construction firm the next morning. But as she got within arm's reach, her eyes drifted to the monitor. And then her feet stopped moving. Her breath hitched in her throat. It wasn't Netflix. It wasn't a video game. It wasn't even work spreadsheets. It was his email inbox. But it wasn't his work email. It was a private account she didn't even know existed. The interface was cluttered with unread bold fonts, but the one open in the center of the screen was what made Olivia's heart stop, then restart with a violent, painful thud. The subject line read, "Purchase agreement finalized, Lakeview Estate." Olivia felt the blood drain from her face. Purchase agreement. They were barely scraping by. They had been talking about cutting back on groceries, about canceling streaming services, about how Liam couldn't join the soccer league this season because money was too tight. James had sat her down just 3 days ago, his face buried in his hands, telling her that the inflation and the slow season at work meant they were in crisis mode. He had told her they might not make the mortgage on their small 2-bedroom starter home if they didn't tighten their belts. She leaned in, her eyes scanning the text of the email, desperate for it to be spam, desperate for it to be a mistake. Dear James, congratulations. The wire transfer of $45,000 has been received and cleared. The closing documents for the Lakeview property are attached. Your mother, Linda, has already been sent a copy as per your instructions. We are ready to hand over the keys next Friday. $45,000. The number floated in front of Olivia's eyes, mocking her. She gripped the back of the chair to steady herself. Where in the world did James get $45,000? And if he had it, why were they eating pasta with butter for dinner 3 nights a week? Why was she wearing boots with a hole in the sole? Her hand trembled as she reached for the mouse. She knew she shouldn't. She knew this was an invasion of privacy, that a marriage should be built on trust. But the trust had just been shattered by a $45,000 hammer. He scrolled up. The thread went back months. Email dated 2 weeks ago. From Linda Patterson, Mom. Subject, don't let her know. James, honey, make sure you route the money through the LLC account so Olivia doesn't see the withdrawal. You know how she gets. She doesn't understand that this is an investment for the family's future. She's too small-minded, bless her heart. Just send the cash. I found the perfect curtains for the master suite. Asterisk. Olivia felt like she had been punched in the gut. Small-minded. Her mother-in-law, Linda, the woman who came over for Sunday dinner and smiled sweetly while criticizing Olivia's cooking, was conspiring with James. Olivia scrolled further, her nausea rising with every click. Asterisk email dated last month asterisk. From James. To Linda Patterson. Asterisk Mom, I'm moving the emergency fund today. I'll tell Olivia the car needed a new transmission and the roof needed patching. She won't check the mechanics. I can get another loan for the house bills. Just please make sure this house is worth it. Asterisk. Tears pricked Olivia's eyes, hot and stinging. The emergency fund. The money her parents had given them when they got married. The money she had saved from her side hustle doing graphic design late at night while Liam slept. He had drained it. He had stolen it. And he had lied to her face about the car repairs. She remembered that week. He had come home looking devastated, saying the transmission was shot, that it cost $4,000 to fix. She had hugged him, told him they would make it work, told him not to worry. She had comforted him while he robbed her. James shifted in his sleep, letting out a small snore, and Olivia recoiled as if he were a snake. She looked at him, really looked at him. The man she thought was her partner, her teammate. He looked peaceful. How could he sleep so peacefully? How could he lie down next to her every night, kiss her goodnight, and then wake up and funnel their entire life savings into a luxury lake house for his mother? She needed to know more. She needed to see everything. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, opening the sent folder. There was an email from yesterday. To real estate agent. Subject. Listing my current home. Asterisk hi Mark, let's move forward. I want to list our current address, 12 Oak Street, quietly. Pocket listing as you called it. I need a quick cash sale. My wife thinks we are just refinancing, so please do not put a sign in the yard yet. I need the equity to pay for the renovations on the new place for Mom, asterisk. The room spun. He wasn't just buying a house for his mother. He was selling their home. The home Liam took his first steps in. The home they had painted yellow and gray together. He was going to sell it out from under them, likely leaving them with nothing, just to fund a palace for Linda. Olivia backed away from the desk. She felt like she was going to be sick. The betrayal was so absolute, so encompassing it felt physical. It wasn't just money. It was the disrespect. It was the calculation. Small-minded. She won't understand. She looked at the time. 3:25 a.m. She couldn't wake him up. If she woke him up now, he would lie. He would come up with some story, some gaslighting excuse about how it was an investment, how she was misreading it, how it was all for them eventually. He was a salesman after all. He could talk his way out of a locked room. Well, she needed proof. Hard, undeniable proof. She grabbed her smartphone from her robe pocket. With shaking hands, she began to snap photos of the screen. The emails from the realtor. The wire transfer receipts. The messages from Linda calling her names and instructing James on how to hide the money. She took pictures of the bank statements he had downloaded. Accounts she didn't know existed, showing tens of thousands of dollars moving in and out. When she was done, she checked the photos. They were clear. She uploaded them to her cloud storage immediately, creating a folder named Evidence, and password protected it. She placed the mouse back exactly where it had been. She stepped back, ensuring the chair was at the same angle. She needed him to think he had gotten away with it for just a little longer. Olivia walked back to the bedroom, her legs feeling like lead. She climbed into the cold bed and stared at the ceiling. The shadows danced above her, twisting into the shapes of her shattered reality. Sleep was impossible. She lay there, listening to the silence of the house, a house that apparently wasn't even theirs anymore. An hour later, she heard the creak of the office chair. The step. The bathroom door closing. The flush. Then James slid back into bed beside her. He draped an arm over her waist, pulling her close, nuzzling his face into her neck. Love you," he mumbled sleepily. his breath warm against her skin. It took every ounce of willpower Olivia possessed not to scream, not to shove him away, not to claw at his face. She lay rigid, forcing her breathing to remain even. "Love you too," she whispered. The lie tasted like ash in her mouth. But she needed him calm. She needed him unsuspecting. Morning came with a cruel brightness. The alarm went off at 6:30 a.m. James groaned and hit snooze just like always. He rolled over and smiled at her. That boyish, charming smile that had made her fall in love with him at a coffee shop 7 years ago. "Morning, beautiful," he said, stretching his arms. "Sleep okay?" "Fine," Olivia said, sitting up and swinging her legs out of bed before he could try to touch her again. "Just a little restless. I'm going to make coffee." "You're the best," he called after her. In the kitchen, Olivia went through the motions. Grind the beans. Pour the water. Press the button. Her movements were mechanical, robotic. Inside, a storm was raging. She watched the dark liquid drip into the pot. James walked in 10 minutes later, dressed in his work shirt and slacks. He looked sharp. He looked like a successful man. He looked like a liar. "Hey," he said, grabbing a mug. "So, listen, I was looking at the budget last night." Olivia gripped the counter edge. "Oh. And? It's looking tight, Liv." "Really tight," James said, putting on a face of deep concern. He leaned against the counter, sighing heavily. "I think we need to cut the cable. Maybe. I know you wanted to get Liam those new sneakers for school, but maybe we can wait a month. His old ones aren't that bad, right?" Olivia stared at him. He had wired $45,000 to a realtor last night. And now he was asking her to deprive their son of shoes that didn't squeeze his toes. "Right," Olivia said, her voice dangerously steady. "We have to be responsible. Every penny counts." "Exactly," James said, looking relieved that she wasn't fighting him. "I knew you'd understand. We're a team. We sacrifice now so we can have a better future." "A better future," she echoed. "For who, James?" He blinked, a flicker of confusion crossing his face. "For us, of course. For Liam." "Right. For us." She turned away to open the fridge, hiding the murderous glint in her eyes. "By the way, how is your mom? I haven't spoken to Linda in a few days." James stiffened. It was subtle, but Olivia saw it. His shoulders went up a fraction of an inch. He took a sip of coffee to hide his face. "Oh, you know Mom," he said casually. "She's struggling. She called me yesterday crying again. Her arthritis is flaring up, and she's worried about the heating bill for her apartment. I might have to send her a couple of $100 for groceries." "Is that okay?" "Couple of $100. For groceries." "Of course," Olivia said, grabbing the milk carton so hard the cardboard dented. "We can't let her starve. Family is everything." "Thanks, babe. You're a saint." He downed his coffee and checked his watch. "I gotta run. Big meeting with the structural engineers today. Gonna be a late one. Don't wait up for dinner." "Okay," she said. "Have a good day." He walked over, kissed her on the cheek, grabbed his keys and walked out the door. Olivia listened to the sound of his car starting, the engine fading down the street. The moment silence returned to the house, Olivia dropped the act. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She went into tactical mode. She pulled out her laptop and sat at the kitchen table. First, she logged into their joint bank account, the one she could see. It had $412.38 in it. That was supposed to last them 2 weeks for food and gas. Then, she pulled up the photos she had taken of his screen. She zoomed in on the realtor's name. Mark Henderson, Prime Realty. She found his office number online. It was 8 a.m. Real estate agents were usually up early. She dialed. "Prime Realty, this is Mark," a cheerful voice answered. "Hi, Mark," Olivia said, putting on her best, confused wife voice. "This is Olivia Miller, James Miller's wife. I'm so sorry to bother you so early." "Oh, Mrs. Miller. Hi." Mark sounded surprised but friendly. No bother at all. James told me he wanted to keep things quiet, but I assume since you're calling, you're in the loop now. Yes, we were just discussing the pocket listing over coffee, Olivia lied smoothly. James was rushing out the door and forgot to leave me the copy of the comparative market analysis for our house on Oak Street. He said you thought we could get a quick cash sale. Absolutely, Mark said, eager to close a deal. The market is hot. I have an investor ready to offer $280,000 cash for your place as is. It would close in 10 days. That would free up the equity perfectly for the closing on the Lakeview estate for his mother. Right, Olivia said, her hand shaking as she wrote down $280,000. That was $50,000 less than their house was worth. James was fire selling their home to get quick cash. And the Lakeview place? It's all set for next Friday? Yes, ma'am. The walkthrough is today at 11 a.m. with Linda. James said he couldn't make it because of work, but Linda is meeting me there to finalize the paint colors. Today at 11 o'clock. Olivia glanced at the clock. You know what, Mark? I think I'll swing by and join Linda. I want to make sure she picks the right colors. She can be a bit specific. That would be great, Mark said. It's the property on 450 Willow Creek Lane. See you there. Olivia hung up. She had a location. She had a time. She went into the nursery. Liam was awake, playing quietly with his blocks. Hey buddy, she said, forcing a bright smile. How would you like to go on a little adventure with Mommy today? We're going to go see a big house by the water. Ducks? Liam asked, his eyes wide. Maybe ducks, she said. But definitely a surprise. She got him dressed and packed a bag. Snacks, juice box, iPad. Then she went to her closet. She didn't put on her usual stay-at-home mom leggings and sweatshirt. She put on her dark jeans, her boots, and a structured blazer. She put on makeup. She brushed her hair until it shone. She wanted to look formidable. She wanted to look like a woman who wasn't about to lose everything. They got into her 10-year-old sedan. The check engine light winked at her from the dashboard. Don't worry, she patted the dashboard. We're fixing everything today. The drive to Willow Creek Lane took 40 minutes. It was in the affluent part of the county, an area where the driveways had gates and the lawns looked like golf courses. As she drove, Olivia thought about Linda. Linda Patterson had always been a victim. Her husband had left her 20 years ago, and she had made that her entire personality. She was always barely making it, always lonely, always needing James to come fix a leaky faucet or help her figure out her taxes. Olivia had tried to be supportive. She had invited Linda over for holidays, bought her thoughtful gifts. But Linda treated Olivia like an intruder, someone who had stolen her precious son away. And now, it turned out Linda wasn't a victim at all. She was a predator. The GPS announced, "Arrived." Olivia pulled up to a massive iron gate. It was open. She drove through, down a winding paved driveway lined with pristine oak trees. The house came into view, and Olivia gasped. It wasn't just a house. It was a mansion. Floor-to-ceiling glass windows, stone accents, a 3-car garage. Behind it, the lake glittered in the morning sun. It had to be worth nearly $1 million. This wasn't a fixer-upper, or a modest condo for an aging mother. This was a luxury estate. And parked right in front was Linda's car. Not the beat-up Honda she usually drove to Olivia's house. No, sitting in the driveway was a brand-new, pearl-white Lexus SUV with a temporary dealer tag in the window. Olivia parked her rusty sedan right next to the shiny Lexus. The contrast was almost comical. Look at the big house. Liam cheered from the back seat. Yeah, buddy. Look at it, Olivia muttered. She saw movement near the front door. Mark, the realtor, was standing there in a sharp blue suit, holding a clipboard. And next to him was Linda. Linda looked different. She wasn't wearing her usual frumpy cardigan and orthopedic shoes. She was wearing a designer silk scarf, oversized sunglasses, and holding a Starbucks cup. She looked vibrant. She looked rich. She was pointing at the front columns, laughing at something Mark said. Olivia unbuckled Liam. Come on, sweetie. Let's go say hi to Grandma. She took Liam's hand and marched up the driveway. The gravel crunched loudly under her boots. Linda turned at the sound. She lowered her sunglasses, and for a second, confusion washed over her face. Then pure, unadulterated panic. Olivia! Linda squeaked. Mark the realtor beamed. Ah, Mrs. Miller. You made it. And this must be the little one. Hi, Linda, Olivia said, her voice crisp and cold as the morning air. Nice car. Is that the one James bought you with the grocery money? Linda's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. I. She looked at the realtor, then back at Olivia. What are you doing here? Does James know you're here? James is at work, Olivia said, stepping onto the porch. Working hard to pay for all this. Mark, isn't it lovely? It really is, Mark said, sensing the tension but trying to keep the sale alive. The natural light in the foyer is stunning. Linda. Olivia turned to her mother-in-law. You look great. Arthritis not bothering you today. You seem to be moving pretty well in those heels. Linda flushed a deep, angry red. I have good days and bad days, Olivia. You wouldn't understand chronic pain. I understand a lot of things, Olivia said. I understand that $45,000 was wired yesterday. I understand that my house is being sold behind my back. And I understand that you aren't a poor, struggling widow. You're a con artist. Mark gasped. Excuse me. Mark, Olivia said, not looking away from Linda. I think there's been a misunderstanding. My husband doesn't have the authority to sell our home. My name is on the deed too. And as for this purchase, where did the funds come from again? From James's account, Mark stammered. Right. Our joint savings. Stolen funds, Olivia said calmly. I'd be very careful about proceeding with this transaction, Mark. Unless you want to be named in the lawsuit. Mark took a step back, clutching his clipboard to his chest. I need to make a call. He scurried away toward his car. Now it was just Olivia and Linda. You little witch, Linda hissed, her sweet grandmother facade dropping instantly. Her face twisted into a snarl. You ruin everything. James deserves to treat his mother. I raised him. I sacrificed everything for him. He wants to give me this. He wants to give you this. Olivia gestured to the mansion. By making his son homeless. By stealing from his wife. He doesn't love you. Linda spat. He tolerates you. He told me. He said you're a burden, a heavy weight dragging him down. He said if it wasn't for the kid, he'd have left you years ago. He's only selling that dump you live in so he can buy this place, move in here with me, and finally have some peace. The words hit Olivia like slap. He's moving in here. That's the plan, Linda smiled cruelly. A mother-son suite. He's going to commute. He's finally coming home to the only woman who ever actually cared about him. Olivia stared at her. It wasn't just about money. It was a replacement. James was building a new life with his mommy, and Olivia and Liam were just collateral damage to be discarded. Does he know you talk about his wife like this? Olivia asked quietly. He knows who you are, Linda scoffed. You're nothing. Now get off my property before I call the police. Your property. Olivia laughed. It was a dry, humorless sound. This isn't your property, Linda. The check hasn't closed. And it never will. He took out her phone. What are you doing? Linda demanded, stepping closer. I'm calling James, Olivia said. And you're going to be quiet. He dialed. Rang once. Hey honey, James answered, his voice a whisper. I'm in the meeting. Everything okay? James, Olivia said, her voice loud enough for Linda to hear. I'm at Willow Creek Lane. With your mother. And Mark. Dead silence on the other end. Then a crash as if he had dropped something. James. What are you doing there? His voice was high, panicked. I'm looking at the mansion you bought with Liam's college fund. I'm looking at the Lexus parked outside. And I'm listening to your mother tell me how you plan to move in here and leave me. Liv, no, that's not. Don't lie. Olivia screamed, finally losing her composure. Do not dare lie to me right now. I saw the emails, James. I saw the bank transfers. I saw everything. I can explain, James pleaded. Please, Liv, just go home. We'll talk tonight. Just don't. Don't upset Mom. Don't upset Mom. Olivia looked at Linda, who was standing there with a smug, defiant look on her face. You care more about upsetting her than destroying us. She's fragile, Olivia. She has a heart condition. She has a Starbucks and a new SUV, James. She's standing right here laughing at me. James, tell her to leave. Linda shouted toward the phone. Tell her she's not welcome here. Liv, please. James sounded like he was crying. Just go home. I am going home, Olivia said, her voice turning deadly calm. I'm going to my house. And I'm packing my things. And Liam's things. And when you get there we won't be there. And neither will the money. I'm freezing the accounts, James. I called the bank fraud department on the way over. You what? You stole from me. That's fraud. Goodbye, James. She hung up. She looked at Linda one last time. Enjoy the view, Linda. Because you're never stepping foot inside this house. Olivia grabbed Liam's hand. Come on, baby. Let's go. Where are the ducks? Liam asked, looking disappointed. We'll find better ducks, she promised him. As she walked back to her car, she heard Mark the realtor on the phone shouting. The deal is dead. The funds are frozen. I'm not losing my license for this. She heard Linda screaming incoherently at the realtor. Olivia got into her car, buckled Liam in, and drove away. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely steer, but she felt something else too. She felt lighter. The lie was over. The Band-Aid had been ripped off. But the war had just begun. James wasn't going to give up that easily. And Linda was dangerous. As she turned onto the main road, her phone buzzed. Text from James. Asterisk, please. Don't take Liam. I'll fix this. I swear, asterisk. Olivia threw the phone onto the passenger seat. He had 6 years to fix this. He chose his mother over his wife every single day. She drove straight to the bank. She had one account left that was solely in her name, an old savings account from before the marriage with about $200 in it. It wasn't enough. She needed a lawyer. She needed a place to stay. She pulled into the parking lot of the bank and put her head on the steering wheel. Tears finally came. Hot, angry tears. How could he be so weak? A knock on her window made her jump. It was an older woman looking concerned. Honey, are you okay? Olivia wiped her face and rolled down the window. I don't know. You look like you've seen a ghost, the woman said kindly. Worse, Olivia said. I saw my husband's email. She took a deep breath. She had to be strong. For Liam. She started the car again. She wasn't going home to pack. If she went home, James might be there. He might try to stop her. He might try to manipulate her again. She needed backup. She dialed her brother, Noah. Noah was a mechanic, a big guy with tattoos and a heart of gold who had never liked James. Hey, Liv. Noah answered, sounding surprised. Everything okay? No, Noah. Nothing is okay. I need you to meet me at the house with your truck. Right now. What's wrong? James spent our life savings on a mansion for his mom and tried to sell our house behind my back. There was a pause. Then the sound of a wrench dropping. I'm on my way, Noah growled. And Liv. If he's there, I'm going to put him through a wall. Just get there, Noah. Please. Olivia drove toward the house, her jaw set. She was done being the understanding wife. She was done being small-minded. She was about to show James and Linda exactly what happens when you mess with a mother protecting her cub. The tires of Olivia's old sedan crunched onto the gravel of her own driveway, a sound that usually signaled safety, comfort, and the end of a long day. Today it sounded like a countdown. She killed the engine and sat there for a moment, her hands gripping the steering wheel so hard her knuckles were white. The house, a modest beige ranch with white shutters that she had lovingly painted 2 summers ago, stared back at her. It looked the same as it had this morning, but everything about it had changed. It was no longer a home. It was an asset James was trying to liquidate to buy his mother a palace. "Mommy, are we home?" Liam asked from the back seat, clutching his juice box. "Yes, baby. But just for a little bit," Olivia said, forcing her voice to remain steady. She unbuckled him and pulled him into her arms, hugging him tighter than usual. "We have to pack some special bags. Uncle Noah is coming to help us." "Uncle Noah!" Liam cheered. Noah was his hero, the big, burly mechanic who let him honk the horn on his truck. Olivia unlocked the front door and stepped into the foyer. The smell of the house, coffee, lavender laundry detergent, and old wood, hit her like a physical blow. This was the smell of her life. A life that had been sold for $280,000 cash behind her back. She didn't take off her boots. She marched straight to the bedroom. She grabbed 2 large suitcases from the top shelf of the closet and threw them onto the bed. She didn't fold anything. She grabbed armfuls of clothes, jeans, sweaters, underwear, and shoved them in. She moved with a frantic energy, terrified that at any moment James's car would pull into the driveway. She went to the bathroom and swept her toiletries into a bag. Toothbrush, face cream, Liam's special bubble bath. Essentials. She wasn't packing to move. She was packing to survive. While she was in the nursery, stuffing Liam's favorite toys into a duffel bag, she heard the deep rumble of a heavy engine outside. A horn honked twice. Short, sharp blast. "Noah." Olivia ran to the window. Noah's black pickup truck, lifted and covered in mud, was idling in the street. He was already out of the cab, storming up the walkway. He looked like a thunderstorm in a flannel shirt. She opened the door, and Noah didn't say a word. He just pulled her into a bear hug that lifted her feet off the ground. He smelled like motor oil and peppermint gum. "I'm here, Liv," he said into her hair. "I'm here." "He's going to be here soon," Olivia whispered, her voice trembling for the first time since the bank. "He texted me. He's coming." "Let him come," Noah said, setting her down. His eyes were dark, his jaw set hard. "I've been waiting to have a chat with James for a long time. We just need to get the boxes. I don't want a fight in front of Liam." "Where is the little man?" "In his room." Noah went to the nursery, and Olivia heard his voice soften instantly. "Hey, champ. You ready to come have a sleepover at Uncle Noah's? I got pizza." Olivia returned to the bedroom to zip up the suitcases. As she wrestled with the zipper, she noticed a file folder tucked between James's nightstand and the wall. It must have fallen there recently. She pulled it out. It was a loan application, but not for a mortgage. It was a high-interest personal loan for $20,000 from a predatory lender, dated 3 months ago. The interest rate was 28%. And the reason listed for the loan: medical expenses. Olivia stared at the paper. 3 months ago. That was when Linda had claimed she needed specialized tests for her heart condition that insurance wouldn't cover. James had told Olivia he was picking up extra shifts to help out. He hadn't picked up extra shifts. He had borrowed 20 grand at shark rates, plunging them into debt before he even stole the savings. The front door slammed open. "Olivia!" James's voice echoed through the house. It wasn't the smooth, charming voice he used in public. It was ragged, high-pitched, panicked. Olivia froze. She put the loan document in her purse. She walked out into the hallway. James was standing in the foyer, chest heaving, sweat beading on his forehead. His tie was loosened, his hair a mess. He looked at the suitcases in the hallway, and his face crumbled. "Liv, baby, please," he started, taking a step toward her. "You're not actually leaving. This is insane. We can talk about this." "There's nothing to talk about," Olivia said, crossing her arms. She felt surprisingly calm now that he was here. He looked pathetic. I saw the house, James. I saw your mother gloating in the driveway. I saw the realtor. It's over. It was a surprise, James blurted out. Olivia laughed. It was a cold, sharp sound. A surprise. Selling my house and stealing my life savings was a surprise. I was going to tell you once it was done. Once we were moved in. James was talking fast, his hands waving frantically. You don't understand real estate, Liv. You have to move fast. I didn't want to stress you out with the details. I did this for us. That house on the lake. It has a guest wing. We wouldn't even see Mom that often. You lied to me every day for 6 months, Olivia said. You looked me in the eye this morning and told me we couldn't afford sneakers for our son. And you had just wired $45,000 to a title company. I was panicking, James shouted. Mom was pressuring me. She said she was dying, Olivia. She said the stress of her old apartment was killing her. What was I supposed to do? Let my mother die. She's not dying, James. Olivia stepped forward, her anger flaring. She drove a brand new Lexus today. She was walking in heels. She bought a mansion, not a hospice center. How can you be so blind? She has good days, James yelled back. You've always hated her. You've always been jealous of the bond one have with her. Jealous? Olivia shook her head in disbelief. I'm not jealous. I'm disgusted. You're a grown man, James. And you stole from your wife and child to buy a toy for a woman who has manipulated you your entire life. I didn't steal. James slammed his hand against the wall. It's my money too. I earned it. And the emergency fund? Olivia asked softly. The money my parents gave us. The money I made working until 2 a.m. You earned that. James opened his mouth, but no sound came out. Hey! A deep voice boomed from the hallway. James spun around. Noah was standing there, holding Liam in one arm and a duffel bag in the other. Liam looked scared, burying his face in Noah's neck. Noah! James swallowed hard, taking a step back. This is a family matter. You don't need to be here. You stopped being family when you robbed my sister, Noah growled. He walked past James, deliberately bumping his shoulder hard enough to make James stumble. He took Liam out the front door to the truck. Liv, get the bags. We're leaving. You can't take my son. James lunged for the door. Noah turned around so fast it was a blur. He shoved James in the chest, sending him sprawling backward onto the hardwood floor. Touch her or try to stop that truck, and you'll be eating through a straw for the next 6 months, Noah said. His voice wasn't loud, which made it terrifying. James scrambled backward, looking up at Noah with wide, fearful eyes. He stayed on the floor. Liv, let's go, Noah said. Olivia grabbed the handle of her suitcase. She walked past James. She didn't look down at him. She looked straight ahead at the open door, at the sunlight spilling in. If you leave, James said from the floor, his voice turning nasty, a desperate attempt to regain control. If you walk out that door, Olivia, I'm cutting you off. I'll cancel the credit cards. I'll empty the joint account completely. You'll have nothing. You can't survive without me. Olivia stopped in the doorway. She turned slowly. I already called the bank, James, she said. The joint account is frozen pending a fraud investigation. And as for surviving without you, I think I'll do just fine. Because I won't be carrying 180 pounds of dead weight anymore. She walked out. She climbed into Noah's truck. As they pulled away, she saw James standing in the doorway, watching them go. He looked small. He looked like a child whose toy had been taken away. But then, another car swerved into the driveway, blocking James's view. It was the white Lexus. Linda jumped out, waving her arms. Don't stop, Olivia told Noah. Noah swerved around the Lexus, driving over the lawn, tearing up the grass James was so proud of. They sped down the street, leaving the toxic duo behind. You okay? Noah asked after a mile of silence. No, Olivia said, watching the neighborhood blur past. But I will be. They arrived at Noah's apartment 20 minutes later. It was a bachelor pad. Leather couch, big TV, a little messy. But to Olivia it felt like a sanctuary. Noah ordered pizza for Liam and put on cartoons. Olivia sat at the small kitchen table and opened her laptop. She wasn't done. Leaving was just the first step. Protecting herself was the second. She logged into the cloud to check the photos she had taken last night. She needed to organize them for a lawyer. She opened the file named Evidence. She scrolled through the images of the bank transfers. Then, she stopped on one image she had taken quickly without really reading it. It was a PDF attachment in an email from the realtor, titled Power of Attorney, Sale of 12 Oak Street. He zoomed in. It was a legal document granting James Miller full authority to sell the property at 12 Oak Street without the secondary owner's signature. At the bottom of the page was a signature. Olivia Miller. Olivia stared at the screen. The signature was a clumsy imitation. The loop on the O was wrong. The slant was too sharp. It was clearly forged. And next to it was a notary stamp. Asterisk State of New York. Notary Public. Sarah Jenkins. Asterisk. Noah, Olivia called out. Her voice was shaking again, but this time with rage. Yeah. Noah came into the kitchen, a slice of pepperoni pizza in his hand. He didn't just try to sell the house behind my back. He forged my signature. She turned the laptop around. That's a felony, Noah. That's prison time. Noah looked at the screen, then at his sister. A slow, grim smile spread across his face. Well then. I guess we hold all the cards now, don't we? I can send him to jail, Olivia whispered. The reality of it was heavy. James, the father of her child, in an orange jumpsuit. If I show this to the police, he's done. He did it to himself, Liv, Noah said. He was willing to make you and Liam homeless. He committed a crime to do it. Don't you dare feel sorry for him. I don't feel sorry for him, Olivia said, closing the laptop with a snap. I just want to make sure that when I drop this bomb, he can never get up again. Her phone buzzed. It was a text from James. Asterisk Mom is really upset. You embarrassed her in front of the realtor. We need to fix this. Come home and we can discuss unfreezing the accounts. If you don't, Mom says she's going to call her lawyer about grandparent rights. Asterisk. Olivia stared at the message. Grandparent rights. Linda was threatening to take Liam. That was it. The last shred of hesitation evaporated. I'm going to destroy them, Olivia said. The next morning, Olivia didn't go to a lawyer. She went to the address on the notary stamp. Sarah Jenkins. It was a small shipping and printing shop in a strip mall on the other side of town. Olivia walked in, clutching her folder of evidence. A young woman, maybe 22, was behind the counter, scrolling on her phone. Her name tag read Sarah. Hi, Olivia said, placing the printed photo of the forged document on the counter. The girl looked up, bored. Can I help you? Are you Sarah Jenkins? Yeah. Did you notarize this? Olivia pointed to the stamp. Sarah glanced at it. I don't know. I notarize a lot of stuff. This is a power of attorney selling my house, Olivia said, her voice hard. That is supposed to be my signature. I was never here. I never signed this. And yet, your stamp is right next to it. The girl's face went pale. She dropped her phone. Look, a guy came in. He said his wife was sick in the car and couldn't come in. He paid me extra to just stamp it. He seemed nice. He said it was an emergency. He paid you extra. Olivia raised an eyebrow. So you accepted a bribe to commit fraud? Please don't call the cops, Sarah whispered, tears filling her eyes. I'll lose my job. I'm a student. I won't call the cops on you, Olivia said, leaning in. If you do exactly what I say. I need you to write a sworn statement that James Miller came in alone, forged the signature in front of you, and paid you to stamp it. You write that down, sign it, and give me a copy of your notary logbook proving I wasn't there." "Okay," Sarah stammered, grabbing a piece of paper. "Okay, I'll do it." 10 minutes later, Olivia walked out with a signed confession from the notary. The noose around James's neck was tightening. But she wasn't done. She needed to cut off the head of the snake. She needed to expose Linda. She sat in her car and thought about the medical expenses, the $20,000 loan, the constant guilt trips. If Linda was faking it, there had to be a paper trail or a lack of one. Olivia remembered something. Last year, when Linda had her first attack, James had mentioned a specific cardiologist, Dr. Evans at City General. Olivia drove to City General. She knew she couldn't get medical records due to privacy laws. But she could get something else. She went to the hospital directory in the lobby. She scanned the list of doctors under cardiology. Evans Robert M.D. He existed. B. She went up to the 4th floor, the cardiology department. The waiting room was full. She approached the receptionist. "Hi," Olivia said. "I'm here to drop off some paperwork for my mother-in-law, Linda Patterson. She sees Dr. Evans." The receptionist typed the name into the computer. Date of birth: March 12, 1962. The receptionist frowned. He typed again. Then she looked at Olivia with a confused expression. "I'm sorry, we don't have a patient by that name in our system." Olivia's heart hammered. "Are you sure?" "Linda Patterson. She says she comes here every month for treatments. Expensive treatments." "Ma'am, I've been the head receptionist for Dr. Evans for 10 years, the woman said. "I know every patient. We have no Linda Patterson. And besides, Dr. Evans is a pediatric cardiologist. He only treats children." Olivia felt a smile tugging at the corners of her lips. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of a hunter who just trapped the wolf. "Pediatric," Olivia repeated. "So he treats kids exclusively." "Thank you," Olivia said. "You have been incredibly helpful." She walked out of the hospital. Linda had been so lazy with her lie that she had just picked a name she saw on a billboard or a website without checking the specialty. She had been scamming James for years, claiming she was seeing a child's heart doctor for her geriatric condition. And James believed it. Or maybe he didn't care. Olivia sat in the car and called Noah. "I have everything," she said. "The forged signature confession and proof that Linda's doctor is a pediatrician. It's over, Noah." "So what's the move?" Noah asked. "Police." "Not yet," Olivia said. "Tonight is Sunday. A family dinner. Linda always hosts Sunday dinner, remember? She demanded James bring me over to apologize and fix things." "You're not going there," Noah said. "Oh, I'm going," Olivia said. "And I'm bringing dessert." At 6 p.m., Olivia pulled up to Linda's apartment complex. It wasn't a slum. It was a nice, middle-class complex with a pool. She had Noah park his truck right behind her car. He was her muscle. They walked up the stairs to apartment 3B. Olivia carried a thick manila envelope. She knocked. James opened the door. He looked terrible. His eyes were red, his face unshaven. When he saw Olivia, relief washed over him. "Liv, you came." He tried to hug her, but Noah stepped in between them like a concrete wall. "Back up," Noah grunted. "I'm here to talk," Olivia said, stepping into the apartment. Linda was sitting at the dining table, which was set with her fine china. She was wearing pearls and a look of smug victory. She thought Olivia had come crawling back. "Well," Linda said, taking a sip of iced tea. "I'm glad you finally came to your senses, Olivia. I was just telling James that if you apologize for your outburst at the mansion, we might consider forgiving you." "Forgiving me?" Olivia stood at the head of the table. She didn't sit down. "Yes, dear. For making a scene. For disrespecting your husband. For trying to keep a son from his mother," Linda said, buttering a roll. "Now sit down. James says you froze the accounts. You need to unlock them right now." The realtor called, And we can still save the deal if we wire another 10,000 by morning. Another 10,000, Olivia repeated. For the house I didn't agree to buy. It's an investment, James said from the kitchen doorway, wringing his hands. Liv, please. Just sit down. We can work this out. Mom needs this place. Her health. Ah yes, her health. Olivia opened the envelope. How is Dr. Evans doing, Linda? Linda froze. The butter knife clattered onto her plate. Who? Dr. Evans. Your cardiologist at City General, Olivia said. I stopped by his office today. You have no right. Linda sputtered. That's private medical information. It is, Olivia agreed. But the receptionist was very helpful. She told me 2 interesting things. 1, you aren't a patient there. And 2, Dr. Evans is a pediatrician. James looked at his mother. What? Mom, you said Dr. Evans was the best heart surgeon in the state. He is. Linda lied, her eyes darting around the room. Olivia is lying. She's trying to turn you against me. He treats children, James, Olivia said, looking at her husband. Your mother has been taking thousands of dollars from us for years to see a doctor who puts lollipops in kids' mouths. There is no heart condition. There are no tests. It was all for purses, cars, and now a mansion. Mom! James's voice trembled. Is that true? She's a liar. Linda shrieked, standing up. Get out of my house. I'm not done, Olivia said. She pulled out the second document. James, do you recognize this? She held up the power of attorney. James went white. He looked like he was going to vomit. I visited Sarah Jenkins today, Olivia said. The notary. She wrote me a very nice confession. She admitted you bribed her to fake my signature. That's forgery, James. That's a felony. Minimum sentence is 2 to 7 years in state prison. The room went dead silent. The only sound was the humming of the refrigerator. James dropped to his knees. Literally dropped. He crawled toward Olivia, grabbing the hem of her jeans. Liv, please. Please don't. I was desperate. Mom told me I had to do it. She said you would never agree. She said it was the only way. Stop blaming her. Olivia kicked his hand away. You did it. You held the pen. You betrayed me. You forged my name to sell our home. I'll fix it. I'll do anything. James was sobbing now, ugly, snotty tears. Don't send me to jail. Please. Think of Liam. I am thinking of Liam, Olivia said, cold as ice. That's why I'm doing this. She looked at Linda. The older woman had collapsed into her chair, looking small and defeated. The game was up. Here is what is going to happen, Olivia said, her voice commanding the room. James, you are going to sign full custody of Liam over to me. Sole physical and legal custody. You will have supervised visits only. You will agree to an uncontested divorce. And you will sign the house, our house, over to me completely. You get nothing. No equity, no savings, nothing. I can't, James stammered. If you don't, Olivia held up the phone. I press send on this email to the district attorney. And the police will be here in 10 minutes. And you, Linda. I'll have them look into your medical fraud too. That's theft by deception. Linda covered her face with her hands. Do it, James, she whispered harshly. Sign whatever she wants. Don't let her call the police. James looked at his mother, then at Olivia. He was trapped. He was broken. Okay, he whispered. Okay. I'll sign. Good, Olivia said. She pulled a pre-written agreement out of the envelope. She had typed it up with Noah earlier. Sign it. Now. James signed with a shaking hand. He didn't even read it. He just wanted to stay out of jail. Olivia took the paper. She put it back in the envelope. We're leaving now, Olivia said. Noah will be by tomorrow with a moving truck to get the rest of my things. If either of you tries to stop us or contact us, or spends 1 cent of the money left in the accounts, I make the call. She turned and walked out. Noah followed, giving James one last look of pure disgust. As they walked down the stairs to the parking lot, the evening air felt sweet. Felt like freedom. "You did it," Noah said, sounding awestruck. "You actually did it." "I did," Olivia said. She felt exhausted, drained to her very core. But the heavy weight that had been sitting on her chest for days was gone. They got into the car. Olivia looked at her phone. She had a text from the realtor, Mark. Mrs. Miller, I just wanted to let you know. The check for the mansion bounced. Insufficient funds. The deal is dead. Have a nice day, Olivia started to laugh. It started as a chuckle and turned into a full belly laugh. Tears streamed down her face. "What?" Noah asked, grinning. "The check bounced," she said, wiping her eyes. "He didn't even have the money to steal properly." She put the car in gear. "Where to?" Noah asked. "To pick up my son," Olivia said. "And then?" "To the rest of my life." But as she pulled out of the complex, she saw something in the rearview mirror. A police cruiser turned into the lot, lights flashing but no siren. Then another. Olivia slowed down. She watched as the officers got out and headed up the stairs toward Linda's apartment. "Did you call them?" Noah asked. "No," Olivia said, frowning. "I didn't." "Then who did?" Olivia watched as the officers banged on the door. Then she saw a man in a suit step out of an unmarked car. He was holding a file. "That's the fraud investigator from the bank," Olivia realized. "When I reported the account, they must have kept digging." She watched as the door to apartment 3B opened. She saw James being led out in handcuffs. Then Linda, shouting and kicking, being dragged out behind him. The fraud wasn't just the forged signature. The bank had found the pattern. They had found the lies. Olivia didn't stop. She didn't turn back. She kept driving. "Looks like I didn't have to press send after all," she whispered. "Karma," Noah said. "Karma is a beautiful thing." Olivia looked at the road ahead. The sun was setting, painting the sky in purples and oranges. It was beautiful. "Let's go get pizza," she said. "You got it, sis." The nightmare was over. And for the first time in a long time, Olivia Miller wasn't afraid of the dark. She was driving toward the light, and she wasn't looking back. Then, the pepperoni pizza tasted like victory. Sitting in the booth of the noisy neon-lit pizzeria with Noah and Liam, Olivia felt the adrenaline of the last 24 hours finally begin to ebb away, replaced by a bone-deep exhaustion. But it was a good kind of tired. It was the tiredness of a runner who had just finished a marathon and realized they hadn't just survived the race. They had won it. Noah took a massive bite of his slice, cheese stretching like a telephone wire. "So," he said, wiping his mouth with a paper napkin, "what happens tomorrow?" Olivia took a sip of her soda, watching Liam try to balance a pepperoni on his nose. "Tomorrow I change the locks," she said firmly. "Then I find a shark of a divorce lawyer. Then I start over." "You need money for a lawyer," Noah pointed out gently. "James drained everything." "Not everything," Olivia corrected him, a small, mysterious smile playing on her lips. "I have my skills, have my laptop, and I have a fire under me that I haven't felt in years. James told me I was small-minded. He told me I was a burden. I'm going to show him exactly how heavy a burden I can be when I'm dropping it on his head." The next few weeks were a blur of red tape and reality checks. The fallout from James and Linda's arrest was messy. The local news picked up the story. Local businessman and mother arrested in real estate fraud scheme. It turned out Olivia wasn't the only one they had scammed. The investigation revealed that Linda had been collecting donations from her church for her fake heart condition for 2 years. James had been cooking the books at his construction firm to support her lifestyle. They were looking at serious time. Olivia didn't go to the hearings. She didn't need to see them. She had Sarah the notary's confession, the bank records, and the forged power of attorney. The divorce was granted on the grounds of cruelty and fraud. She got the house, full custody of Liam, and what little was left in James's retirement accounts after the government took their share for restitution. But the house felt tainted. Every time Olivia walked into the kitchen, she saw James standing there lying about the budget. Every time she looked at the master bedroom, she remembered the sleepless nights wondering why she wasn't enough. One Tuesday morning, about a month after the arrest, Olivia was sitting on the living room floor, surrounded by boxes. She wasn't packing to leave. She was packing away the past. Pictures of James, his old golf clubs in the garage, the ugly vase Linda had given her for Christmas. It was all going into the trash pile. She picked up a photo from their wedding day. James looked so happy. She looked so hopeful. She stared at it for a long time, waiting for the tears to come. But they didn't. She just felt indifferent. He was a stranger now. A stranger who had taught her a very expensive lesson about trust. She ripped the photo in half and tossed it into the garbage bag. Knock, knock. Olivia looked up. The front door was open, letting in the warm spring breeze. Standing in the doorway was a man she didn't recognize. He was tall, wearing a paint-splattered t-shirt and worn-out jeans. He had kind eyes and messy brown hair that looked like he'd just run his hands through it. "Hi," Olivia said, standing up and brushing dust off her leggings. "Can I help you?" "I'm Ethan," the man said, pointing a thumb over his shoulder. "I bought the place across the street. The fixer-upper with the overgrown hedges. I saw the for sale sign in your trash pile earlier this week and figured maybe you were moving, but then I saw you throwing out what looks like half a household." "Not moving," Olivia said, a little defensively. "Just cleaning house. Purging." "Purging is good," Ethan smiled. It was a genuine smile, one that reached his eyes. "I'm purging about 40 years of wallpaper from my place right now. If you need an extra pair of hands to haul those bags to the curb, let me know. I have a truck." "I have a brother with a truck," Olivia said automatically. "But thank you." "Fair enough," Ethan nodded. He hesitated for a second. "I also saw you have a little guy." "Have a daughter, Sophia. She's 5. She's currently bored out of her mind watching me scrape walls. If you ever want a playdate, or just to preserve your sanity while he runs around, let me know." Olivia looked at him. He seemed normal. And unlike James, he wasn't trying to sell her anything. "Maybe," she said. "I'm Olivia. And the little guy is Liam." "Nice to meet you, Olivia," Ethan said. "Good luck with the purge." He walked away whistling. Olivia watched him go. It was the first normal interaction she'd had with a man in months that didn't involve lawyers or police. Felt nice. By the 3-month mark, Olivia's life had found a new rhythm. She had thrown herself into her graphic design work with a vengeance. No longer hiding her talent or working in the shadows of the night, she updated her portfolio and reached out to every agency in the city. Her story, "The Single Mom Fighting Back," had quietly circulated in the community, and people wanted to help. But it was her talent that kept them. She landed a contract with a local organic food startup that needed a full rebranding. It was a big job. The kind of job James would have laughed at, telling her she couldn't handle the pressure. She handled it. She crushed it. The check from that first big job cleared on a Friday. Olivia stared at her mobile banking app. It wasn't millions, but it was enough. Enough to pay the mortgage for 3 months. Enough to buy Liam the sneakers he needed. Enough to buy herself a bottle of expensive wine. She decided to celebrate. She took Liam to the park down the street, the big one with a splash pad. Liam ran off toward the slides, screaming with joy. Olivia sat on a bench, closing her eyes and turning her face to the sun. "Mind if I sit?" She opened her eyes. It was Ethan, the neighbor. He was holding 2 ice cream cones. "Sophia is currently burying herself in the sandbox." He pointed to a little girl with pigtails who was enthusiastically throwing sand. "I bought 2 ice creams, but she dropped hers immediately, so I bought a third. Now I have an extra." "I love ice cream," Olivia said, taking the cone. "Chocolate. My favorite." "Lucky guess." Ethan sat down, leaving a respectful distance between them. How's the purging going? Done, Olivia said, licking the melting ice cream. The house feels lighter. I painted the living room blue. Bright blue. My ex-husband hated blue. Rebellion paint. Ethan nodded approvingly. I like it. I just finished the kitchen. White cabinets. Very trendy. So, you're a single dad? Olivia asked, venturing into personal territory. Widower, Ethan said softly. 3 years now. It's just me and sophomore. I'm sorry, Olivia said, feeling a pang of sympathy. That must be hard. It is, he admitted. But we figure it out. What about you? I assume the ex-husband comment means you're solo. Freshly divorced, Olivia said. He's away. For a while. Prison. Ethan guessed, half joking. Actually, yes, Olivia laughed. Felt good to laugh about it. Fraud. Stole my savings. Tried to sell my house behind my back for his mommy. Ethan's eyes went wide. Whoa, that's a movie plot. You're basically a movie star. I feel more like a stunt double who fell off the roof, she joked. Well, you stuck the landing, Ethan said, looking at her with admiration. You look like you're doing great. I am, Olivia realized. She really was. I'm doing great. They sat there for an hour talking about everything and nothing. Olivia learned that Ethan was an architect, hence the renovation skills. He learned that Olivia was a designer. They swapped stories about nightmare clients and the struggles of getting toddlers to eat vegetables. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the playground, Ethan stood up. Hey, he said, rubbing the back of his neck. I know you're probably swearing off men for the next decade, and I totally get that. But if you ever wanted to get dinner, without the kids, or with the kids, just dinner, I'd like that. Olivia looked at him. He was kind. He was honest. And he bought her chocolate ice cream without asking for anything in return. I'm not swearing off dinner, she smiled. Ask me again in a week. Let me just enjoy being free for a little bit longer. Deal, Ethan grinned. See you around, neighbor. 6 months later the letter came. It was a plain white envelope with the stamp of the State Correctional Facility. Olivia stood by the mailbox, the autumn leaves crunching under her boots. She knew who it was from. She walked into the house, her house. The living room was indeed a bright, cheerful blue. New curtains hung in the windows, paid for with her own money. The air smelled of apple pie because she and Liam had been baking. She sat at the kitchen table and stared at the envelope. James. He was reaching out. Probably to apologize. Probably to ask for money. Probably to blame her for his misery. She thought about opening it. She thought about reading his excuses, his pleas. She thought about the satisfaction of knowing he was miserable. But then she looked at the refrigerator. Attached to the fridge with a magnet was a drawing Liam had made. It showed 3 stick figures holding hands. One was small, Liam. One was medium with long hair, Olivia. And one was tall with messy hair, Ethan. Underneath in crayon it said, family. She looked at the calendar. Tonight was date night. Ethan was taking her to that Italian place downtown. And Noah was coming over to watch Liam and Sophia. She looked back at the envelope. James belonged to the darkness. He belonged to the nights she spent crying, the doubts, the fear. He belonged to a version of Olivia who was small, scared, and compliant. That Olivia didn't exist anymore. She stood up, walked to the stove, and turned on the gas burner. She held the corner of the unopened envelope to the flame. The paper caught fire instantly. She watched the orange flame curl around the return address, consuming the name James Miller. She dropped it into the metal sink and watched it turn to ash. She didn't feel anger. She didn't feel sadness. She felt nothing. Just the peace of a closed chapter. She washed the ashes down the drain. Mommy, is the pie ready? Liam ran into the kitchen, wearing a Spider-Man costume. Almost Spidey. Olivia scooped him up, peppering his face with kisses until he giggled uncontrollably. Go wash your hands. Uncle Noah will be here any minute. The doorbell rang. Olivia smoothed her hair in the hallway mirror. She looked different than she did a year ago. Her eyes were brighter. Her shoulders were relaxed. She looked like a woman who owned her life. She opened the door. Ethan was standing there, holding a bouquet of sunflowers, her favorite. Noah was right behind him, holding a six-pack of soda and grinning. Ready to go? Ethan asked, his eyes lighting up when he saw her. You look beautiful, Liv. I feel beautiful, she said, and she meant it. She kissed Liam goodbye, hugged her brother, and walked out into the cool evening air with a good man holding her hand. As they walked down the path, Olivia glanced back at her house one last time. The lights were on, warm and inviting. Inside there was laughter. There was love. There was truth. James had tried to sell her home. He had tried to sell her future. But he had failed. Because a home isn't made of bricks and mortar. It's made of the people inside it. And Olivia had built a fortress that no lie could ever tear down again. She squeezed Ethan's hand, looked up at the stars and smiled. And they lived happily ever after. With a big smile. End.